Security. Get this person out of here right now. My ex-boyfriend Blaine's voice cut through the elegant dining room like a knife, and every head in Crescent Heights' most exclusive restaurant turned toward me. I stood frozen near the marble-topped bar, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. This wasn't supposed to happen. I'd only come here to get back what was mine, but now I was the center of attention in a place where a single table reservation required a 3-month waiting list. Blaine, please just listen for 1 minute, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. I didn't want to seem desperate, but the truth was, I absolutely was. Just give me back my laptop. It has 2 years of my photography work on it. My entire portfolio. Maddox, what makes you think you belong in a place like this? Blaine looked at me like I was something disgusting. He'd stepped in on the sidewalk. His new boyfriend sat beside him, a suited alpha whose wristwatch probably cost more than 4 months of my rent. Look at yourself. Your shoes are falling apart at the seams. That shirt you're wearing, did you get it from a thrift store? Or maybe you pulled it out of a donation bin? The entire restaurant seemed to be watching us now. Some people were smiling with amusement, while others had already pulled out their phones to record what was clearly about to become a viral humiliation video. My cheeks burned with shame, but I couldn't leave without that laptop. Without it, every client contact and finished project from the past 2 years would be gone forever. Blaine, I'm asking you nicely. Asking nicely? Blaine's new boyfriend. I thought his name was Marcus, interrupted with a condescending laugh. Seriously, bro, who even invited this poor guy? Your old charity case seems to have followed you here like a lost puppy. Laughter erupted from Blaine's table of friends. My hands curled into fists at my sides. I know, right? Blaine said dramatically, picking up his champagne glass with exaggerated elegance. Maddox, do you want to know when I realized our relationship was the biggest mistake of my life? It was when you brought me to that studio apartment of yours for the first time. 1 room, 1 bathroom, no parking space. God, it was absolutely mortifying. Each word felt like a physical blow to my chest. Yes, I was poor. Yes, I struggled every month to pay my rent on time. But was poverty really such an unforgivable crime? Did being broke make me less of a person? The security guards started moving toward me, ready to grab my arm and escort me out. I began backing away, my head lowered in shame when suddenly, the main entrance doors flew open with such force that the sound echoed through the dining room. Everyone went silent. A man walked in. No, that description doesn't do it justice. A presence entered the room. He was tall with broad shoulders, wearing a 3-piece burgundy suit that was clearly custom-tailored and probably cost thousands of dollars. His blonde hair was perfectly slicked back, and his green eyes were so intense that anyone who met his gaze felt immediately uncomfortable. 2 bodyguards in dark suits followed behind him, their faces serious and clearly armed, but he gestured for them to wait at the entrance. The entire restaurant fell completely silent. Only soft classical music continued playing in the background. The man walked directly toward me with measured, confident, powerful steps. It was as if he knew that his very presence could change the world. People automatically moved aside to let him pass. When he stopped right in front of me, he looked at me and smiled. A real smile, a genuine, gentle smile, as if he actually knew me. "Sorry I'm late, darling," he said, reaching forward to take my hand. His touch was warm, firm, and reassuring. The traffic was absolutely insane today. I didn't think I'd be running this late. I stared at him in complete confusion. Who was this man? I'd never seen him before in my entire life. "I don't know you," I whispered. He placed his hand on my waist and pulled me close to him, smoothly, naturally, as if we'd been together for years. He leaned near my ear and whispered so quietly that only I could hear. "Play along with me. I'm saving your dignity right now. Trust me." Then he turned directly toward Blaine. His smile disappeared completely. The warmth in his eyes vanished, replaced by cold, calculated power. "Oh," he said in a flat, monotone voice. "You must be the ex-boyfriend. Blaine, correct? The one who cheated on my husband with 3 different people simultaneously, if I remember the details correctly." Blaine's mouth literally fell open. His hand almost dropped the champagne glass, and he only barely managed to set it down on the table. "Husband? Maddox is married?" Blaine's voice cracked with shock. The mysterious man lifted my hand to his lips and kissed it. Slowly, deliberately, possessive, claiming, "Yes, it's been 6 months now. We had a private ceremony, obviously. We didn't want unnecessary media attention. You understand how important privacy is when you're actually in a serious, committed relationship. He looked at Blaine's new boyfriend, scanning him from head to toe, as if he were examining an insect. And you, who are you exactly? Oh wait, let me guess. Temporary replacement number 4? Or is it 5? Honestly, I've lost count. Marcus's face turned bright red with anger, but he couldn't seem to form any words. The mysterious man glanced at the restaurant manager and snapped his fingers effortlessly. Excuse me. The manager practically ran over. Yes, sir. How may I help you? Who owns this restaurant? The manager looked nervous. Sterling Hospitality Group, sir. Perfect. Call them immediately and tell them that Desmond Hale is personally interested in buying them out. I want the deal finalized by tonight. Set up a board meeting. The manager's face went completely white, as if he'd just seen a ghost. A collective gasp went through the entire restaurant. People started whispering urgently to each other. Phone cameras began pointing in our direction. Desmond answered in a bored tone. Yes, that's correct. Now go do your job. Stop wasting my time. Then he looked back at me, tenderly this time. Come on, Maddox. The atmosphere here has become toxic. And honestly, the food is overrated anyway. Let me take you home for a proper dinner. He took my hand and began walking confidently toward the entrance. I followed mechanically, still trying to process what had just happened. Blaine and all his friends sat in shocked silence. Before we left, Desmond turned back one more time to look at Blaine. Oh, and Blaine, he said casually, Maddox's laptop? It will be delivered to your doorstep tomorrow morning. If it's not, my legal team will be contacting you personally. Theft charges are extremely serious. Then he led me outside. A sleek black Rolls-Royce was waiting. The driver stood holding the door open. Get in, Desmond said softly, looking at me. My mind was still completely blank, unable to process anything but something, maybe survival instinct, maybe desperation, made me climb into the car. The driver closed the door. The engine began humming quietly, and we drove away from that place. Inside the car, thick silence hung between us, uncomfortable, heavy, filled with unasked questions. Desmond wasn't speaking, just staring out the window at the city lights passing by as if contemplating some important business decision. I kept stealing glances at him. His jaw was sharp and defined, his cheekbones sculpted like they'd been carved by an artist. And the scent coming from him, sandalwood mixed with something rich and musky, clearly expensive cologne, was overwhelming me. Pure alpha scent. Why? I finally gathered the courage to break the silence. Why did you help me back there? Desmond turned to look at me, his green eyes meeting my brown ones. What? Save you from humiliation? Yes. You don't even know me. He gave a slight shrug, as if it wasn't a big deal. I go to that restaurant almost every night. Late-night coffee helps me think. When I was entering tonight, I saw you, an Omega being publicly humiliated, having his dignity attacked. Normally, I mind my own business. But I encouraged, genuinely curious. You fought back, Desmond said seriously. Your eyes didn't show the fear that usually appears when people face aggressive alphas. You weren't defensive, you were respectful but firm. You tried to make your point while maintaining your dignity. You didn't beg, you didn't lose your self-respect. That genuinely impressed me. I was surprised. Someone actually found me impressive. So you decided to play hero? Desmond's lips curved into a slight smirk. Hero? No, Maddox. I'm a villain. I always have been. But tonight you needed a villain, not a hero. Heroes save you and then leave. Villains completely destroy your enemies. The car gradually slowed and stopped. I looked out the window. A massive skyscraper stood before us. Glass and steel, modern architecture, with lights glowing on every floor. This was downtown's most prominent building. Where are we? My building, Desmond said casually, as if it were completely normal. My penthouse is on the top floor. Come with me. We need to have an important conversation. My heart started racing. I can't go to your penthouse with you. Desmond turned toward me. Serious, intense, but not threatening. I'm not forcing you, Maddox. You can leave right now. My driver will take you wherever you want to go. But if you want your laptop back, and if you want Blaine to learn a proper lesson, then hear me out. Just a conversation. 10 minutes. Deal? I looked into his eyes. There was no hidden agenda in them. Just honesty. Reluctantly, I nodded. Okay, 10 minutes. We went inside. The doorman in the lobby saluted Desmond. Good evening, Mr. Hale. Evening, Marcus. Desmond replied. We took the private elevator, surrounded by mirrors on all sides. I avoided looking at my reflection. My cheap clothes seemed so painfully obvious here. The elevator stopped at the top floor. The doors opened directly into the penthouse's living area. I wasn't prepared for this. The penthouse was astronomical. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire city, twinkling lights like stars. Designer furniture that was clearly hand-picked. Abstract art pieces on the walls. And in the corner, an actual grand piano. Glossy black, perfectly maintained. Desmond removed his jacket and walked toward the bar area. "Would you like a drink?" I don't drink alcohol," I admitted. "Is sparkling water acceptable?" "Yes." He poured sparkling water into 2 glasses, gave one to me and kept one for himself. Then he sat on the large sofa and gestured for me to join him. "Sit down. Make yourself comfortable." I sat cautiously, on the far end of the sofa, maintaining distance. Desmond took a sip and set his glass on the table. "So Maddox, I already know some things about you." My heartbeat quickened. "How?" "Resources," he said simply. "Your name is Maddox Reed. You're 26 years old. You're a freelance photographer. Weddings, events, occasional portraits. Struggling financially. Having difficulty paying rent every month. Student loans still pending. And your ex, Blaine Carter, broke up with you exactly 6 months ago, because according to him you lacked ambition and had no future prospects." My mouth fell open. How do you know all this? In such detail?" Desmond smiled slightly at my reaction. "When I become interested in someone, I do thorough research, Maddox. But don't worry, I'm not some creep. All this information came from public records and basic background checks." I felt uncomfortable. "But why? You saw me for the first time today." "Actually no," Desmond corrected. "I saw you 3 weeks ago. Same restaurant. You were taking anniversary photos for a couple in the outdoor section. Your focus, your patience, your passion, it was all visible. I looked at your photography afterward. It was impressive. I remembered that evening. Yes, I had been there. Anyway," Desmond continued, "let's discuss the important matter. What do you want, Maddox?" "My laptop," I said immediately. "It contains my entire portfolio. Without it I can't find any new clients." "Done. You'll have it by tomorrow morning." "That easily?" I was shocked. Desmond leaned back, spreading his arms across the back of the sofa. "Maddox, you don't understand exactly who I am. Desmond Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises. Real estate, hospitality, technology investments, multiple sectors. My net worth? Let's just say if I wanted to, I could make Blaine homeless with one phone call, end his career, remove him from his social circle. Getting your laptop back? That's absolutely nothing." Hearing all this made my mind spin. This man, just how powerful was he? But I said hesitantly, "Nothing in life is free. What do you want from me?" Desmond's expression became serious. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, and looked directly into my eyes. "Marry me." I thought I must have misheard. What? "Marriage. A legal union," he repeated clearly. I jumped up in panic. "Are you insane? We just met a few hours ago and you're talking about marriage?" Desmond remained completely calm, not fazed at all. "Listen to the full explanation first, then make your decision." I sat back down, but on the edge, ready to run if necessary. Desmond began explaining. "My family, the Hale family, represents old money. Traditional, controlling. My father, Harrison Hale, constantly pressures me to get married. He's already found suitable matches for me, children of business families that would strengthen alliances. But I don't want any forced relationship. I want to live my life on my own terms." I listened silently. "So I need a solution, a contract marriage. You become my official spouse legally on paper. You attend social events with me when necessary, fundraisers, galas, family functions. For appearances, the rest of the time you live your life completely independently, free." "And what," I said slowly, "would I get from this arrangement?" Desmond said seriously, "Everything that could pull you out of your current struggle. Financial security. I'll handle your rent, bills, everything. Your career, I'll provide the best photography opportunities, connections, clients. Respect. People who underestimate you will see you differently when the Hale family name is associated with you. And protection. Because if anyone disrespects my spouse, they'll have to deal with me directly." This was completely insane. But one part of me, the desperate, exhausted, frustrated part, was listening and thinking, could this actually be possible? How long would this last? I asked cautiously. 1 year. After that, a clean divorce. Simple paperwork. You'll receive your full settlement as mentioned in the contract, and we'll go our separate ways. No strings attached, no drama. I looked at the glass in my hand. Bubbles rising and popping on the surface. Temporary, fleeting. Was this deal the same? I have one condition, I said firmly. Desmond raised an eyebrow. Tell me. No physical relationship. We'll only be married on paper. Marriage in name only. Nothing more. No expectations whatsoever. Desmond didn't hesitate for even a second. Agreed. I will never force you into anything. This is an arrangement, Maddox. I'll respect your boundaries completely. He extended his hand, offering it. So, yes or no? I stared at his hand. This decision could change my entire life. On one side was my current struggling reality. On the other, 1 year of stability and opportunities. Could I really take this risk? I took a deep breath and shook his hand. Yes, Desmond smiled, a genuine, relieved smile. Smart choice, Maddox. You won't regret this, I promise. But as I prepared to leave that night, my heart was filled with a strange feeling. Had I made the right decision? Or had I just made the biggest mistake of my entire life? When I woke up the next morning in my tiny studio apartment, I thought maybe last night had been an incredibly vivid dream. But then my eyes fell on the side table where a business card lay waiting. Embossed letters read, Desmond Hale, CEO, Hale Enterprises. Below that, a handwritten note, 10 a.m., law office, address below, mine is D, so it was real. It had actually happened. I got dressed in the most decent clothes I owned. A button-down shirt that was slightly worn at the collar and dark jeans that were at least clean. When I arrived at the law office, a high-rise building downtown, I felt overwhelmed just standing in the entrance. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and a receptionist whose outfit probably cost as much as my weekly groceries. Maddox Reed, I said nervously. I have an appointment. The receptionist checked her screen and gave me a professional smile. Yes, Mr. Reed. Top floor, conference room A. Mr. Hale is already waiting for you. As the elevator ascended, my heart pounded harder with each floor. Everything felt so formal, so incredibly real. In the conference room, Desmond was already seated. Crisp white shirt, navy suit pants, with a pile of documents spread before him. Beside him sat a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a strict demeanor, clearly an attorney. Maddox. Desmond looked up and smiled warmly. Come in, have a seat. This is Mrs. Chen, our legal advisor. I sat down carefully. Mrs. Chen slid a thick contract across the table toward me. Mr. Reed, she said in a professional tone. This is the marriage contract. I'll explain each clause in detail. For the next hour, she walked through the contract methodically. The legal jargon was so complicated my head started aching, but certain clauses became crystal clear. Duration, 1 year, renewable only by mutual consent. Living arrangements, separate residences, unless public appearances require otherwise. Financial support, Desmond will cover all reasonable expenses. Rent, utilities, professional equipment. Public appearances, minimum 10 events per year attended together. Physical relationship, strictly optional, absolutely no obligations. Termination. Either party may terminate with 30 days' notice. Financial settlement will be provided. If you're comfortable proceeding, Mrs. Chen said, please sign here. I picked up the pen. My hand trembled slightly. This was a huge decision, legally binding and life-changing. But then I glanced at Desmond. He had already signed his portion. Now he was waiting patiently for me. I signed the document. Mrs. Chen collected the papers efficiently. Congratulations, this contract is now legally binding. The actual marriage ceremony will take place at the courthouse, a civil union. I'll schedule it shortly. After Mrs. Chen left the room, Desmond opened a side drawer and pulled out a velvet box, placing it in front of me. What's this? I asked. Open it. I opened the box carefully. Inside was a platinum ring, a simple band with no stones, elegant in its minimalist design, understated yet clearly expensive. It's a formality, Desmond explained. You'll need to wear this during public appearances. We need to show people we're genuinely committed. I looked at my ring finger. How did you know my exact size? Desmond smirked slightly. I told you I have extensive resources, and I never miss important details. He took the ring and slid it onto my finger. Gently, carefully. It fit perfectly. Now, Desmond said, standing up, let's go. I want to show you something. We drove through the city in his car. I had no idea where we were going until the car stopped in front of an upscale apartment complex. "What is this place?" I asked. "Your new home," Desmond said simply. I was shocked. "What?" "But the contract stated." "The contract says separate living arrangements," Desmond interrupted smoothly. "That means you won't be living in my penthouse. But that doesn't mean you should stay in that struggling studio apartment where the plumbing barely works and your landlord harasses you about rent every single week." We went inside. The building was modern and secure. We took the elevator to the 12th floor. Desmond unlocked the door and led me inside. I couldn't find words. The apartment was spacious, open floor plan, large windows with a stunning city view, a modern kitchen that actually looked functional, and a completely separate room that was a photography studio. My voice cracked with emotion. "What is all this?" The studio had professional lighting equipment, softboxes, reflectors, backdrop stands. Different colored backdrops were neatly rolled and stored in the corner. And a brand new camera, the latest model I'd only dreamed about owning, sat waiting on the table. "You need to build your career, don't you?" Desmond said softly, watching my reactions carefully. "So you should have proper equipment and workspace. You can bring clients here. It's a completely professional environment." I turned to face him, emotions overwhelming me. "Desmond, why are you doing all this for me?" He looked into my eyes sincerely. "Because this deal needs to be fair, Maddox. I'm asking you for 1 year for appearances to escape family pressure. But in exchange, you shouldn't just get money. You deserve real opportunities, actual growth, and I can provide that. So why wouldn't I?" For the first time in my life, someone had taken my dreams seriously, not just offered money but actual tangible support. "Thank you," I whispered, and for the first time my gratitude felt completely genuine. Desmond nodded and started walking toward the door. "Take your time settling in. The keys are here. Call me if you need anything at all." "Wait," I stopped him. He paused. Where will you be staying?" "In my penthouse. The one you saw last night," Desmond said. "We're maintaining separate spaces, remember? That's part of our arrangement." "Yes, but..." I hesitated. What if I need something? Or there's some kind of problem?" Desmond pulled out his phone and dialed a number. My phone immediately rang. "Now you have my personal number," he said. "Whatever happens, call me anytime. I'm always available for you." He left after that, and I stood alone in that not empty, beautifully furnished apartment, trying to process how drastically my entire life had changed in just one night. That evening, I tried to sleep on the new bed, which was probably 10 times more comfortable than my old worn-out mattress. But sleep wouldn't come. Too many thoughts were racing through my mind. So I went to the studio room. I examined the lighting setup, picked up the camera, felt its weight in my hands. This was real. All of this was actually real. I started taking test shots, photographs of the apartment, the lighting equipment, the city view outside. I got lost in the work. Suddenly the doorbell rang. Who could possibly be here this late at night? I checked the intercom screen. On it, Desmond. I opened the door immediately. "What are you doing here? Is something wrong?" Desmond looked slightly different. His tie was loosened, his hair somewhat disheveled, as if he'd run his fingers through it repeatedly, and his eyes held something, restlessness, maybe uncertainty. "I was trying to sleep," he said honestly. "But I couldn't, so I thought I'd check and make sure you settled in properly." It was clearly an excuse, but I let him inside anyway. "I'm fine," I said. "Actually, I was just trying out the studio equipment." Desmond walked into the studio room and looked at my test shots displayed on the laptop screen. These are really excellent," he said, genuinely impressed. "Your eye for composition, it's completely natural talent." "Thanks," I said awkwardly. Silence fell between us. Not uncomfortable exactly, but charged with unspoken things. "Desmond," I said carefully, "tell me the truth. Why did you do all this?" Just to escape family pressure doesn't fully explain going to such lengths. He went silent, thinking, deciding how much to reveal. Finally he spoke. "Because Maddox, I understand exactly what it feels like when people constantly underestimate you. When they ignore your worth based purely on your background or circumstances. That happened to you too." I was genuinely surprised. "Yes, but I wasn't always the chosen one," Desmond said with a bitter smile. "I'm my father's younger son. My older brother was supposed to handle the company operations. I was just extra. Until I proved myself, ruthlessly, brilliantly, nobody took me seriously. And during that entire process, I became very alone. For the first time, I saw real vulnerability in Desmond. Is that why you wanted this arrangement? I asked softly. So you could live life on your own terms? Yes, he admitted. And when I saw you, your struggle, your dignity under pressure, I thought maybe you'd understand what that's like. I stepped closer to him. I do understand, Desmond. He moved toward me closer than strictly necessary. His scent was overwhelming my senses. Maddox, he whispered, this arrangement, it's not just a transaction for me. I want you to feel comfortable, supported, genuinely cared for. I do feel that, I admitted quietly. We stood there looking at each other, the moment stretching between us, heavy with possibility. Then Desmond stepped back deliberately. I should go. You need proper rest. Desmond, I stopped him. If you also can't sleep, you could stay here. The sofa is actually very comfortable. He looked surprised. Are you certain? I nodded. That night Desmond slept on my living room sofa while I stayed in my bedroom. Strangely enough, there was genuine comfort in that silent companionship. Perhaps this arrangement wasn't going to be as simple as either of us had originally thought. 3 days later, we stood inside the courthouse, a building that smelled of old paper and administrative efficiency. The civil ceremony was scheduled for 11 in the morning, and the whole thing felt surreal in its simplicity. No grand decorations, no elaborate preparations, just Mrs. Chen with her briefcase and a professional photographer Desmond had hired to document the legal proceedings. The officiant was a middle-aged woman with reading glasses perched on her nose. She went through the formalities with practiced efficiency, barely looking up from her papers. When she reached the critical moment, she asked in a neutral tone, "Do you take this person to be your lawfully wedded spouse?" "I do," I said, and my heart suddenly beat with an unexpected intensity that caught me off guard. Desmond's turn came next. "I do," he stated firmly, his voice carrying absolute certainty that made something flutter in my chest. We exchanged the platinum rings we'd already been wearing for appearances, sliding them off and then back on in the ceremonial gesture required by law. The bands caught the fluorescent lighting overhead, gleaming with understated elegance. "You may now seal this union with a kiss," the officiant announced, already gathering her papers as if this part was merely procedural. This particular detail hadn't come up in our discussions. We'd planned everything else meticulously, but somehow this traditional element had slipped through the cracks. Desmond turned toward me with a questioning look, silently asking permission. I gave the smallest nod. After all, this was just formality, just for the official record. He leaned in and pressed his lips to mine. Soft, brief, entirely appropriate for a courthouse wedding. Professional, proper, but my heart raced anyway, pounding against my ribs like it was trying to escape. We walked out of the courthouse as officially married spouses, legally bound together for 1 full year minimum. So Desmond said once we were settled in the back of his car, "From this point forward, you're Maddox Hale, or Maddox Reed Hale, whichever you prefer using." "I'd like to keep my own name," I responded quickly, the words coming out faster than I'd intended. "Reed, that's completely understandable." Desmond accepted without hesitation. "The paperwork will show the hyphenated version for legal purposes. Everything else is your choice to make." He reached into the seat pocket and pulled out a manila folder, extending it toward me. "Take a look at this." I opened it carefully. Inside was a printed email from Vogue magazine, addressed directly to me. Is this really?" I couldn't even finish the sentence, my voice catching with disbelief. "Yes," Desmond confirmed with obvious satisfaction. "I submitted your portfolio to their editorial team, admittedly without asking your permission first, so if you're upset about that, I completely understand. But they responded positively. They want to feature your work in an upcoming issue. It's a small editorial spread, but Maddox, it's Vogue. This could transform your entire career trajectory." I stared at the email, unable to form coherent words. Vogue, the actual internationally recognized Vogue magazine. How did you even? "The same day you signed our contract," Desmond explained honestly. "I wanted to ensure this arrangement benefited your career development, not just your financial situation. This marriage shouldn't only help you survive, it should help you genuinely thrive professionally." Tears welled up in my eyes from the overwhelming emotion. "Desmond, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Genuinely, thank you. Show your gratitude by creating incredible work." He smiled warmly. But the happiness didn't last long. The next day, our wedding became headline news across social media platforms and entertainment outlets, complete with large, detailed photographs of us kissing on the courthouse steps. The headlines screamed, "Billionaire CEO Desmond Hale marries Mystery Omega in surprise wedding." Below those headlines, the comment sections turned absolutely brutal. "Who is this Maddox Reed person? Never heard of him before. Obviously a gold digger. Just look at him. No background, no money, nothing. Desmond could have married literally anyone. Why choose this complete nobody? Classic case of a poor Omega trapping a wealthy alpha." Textbook manipulation. I felt devastated reading through them, each comment landing like a physical blow. Desmond showed up at my apartment almost immediately after the story broke. "Maddox, you need to ignore all of that," he said firmly, his jaw set with determination. "How can I possibly ignore it? Everyone is calling me a gold digger. Because people always assume the worst," Desmond said, frustration evident in his voice. "They don't know the truth. They don't understand how talented you are, how hard you work." "But Desmond, your reputation is being damaged." "My reputation is my problem to handle," he interrupted decisively. "What you need to do is ignore this noise and focus entirely on your work. You're doing the Vogue spread. New clients will start approaching you. Your photography will speak for itself, not these baseless comments." But that night, alone in my apartment, I read through those comments repeatedly. Every single word chipped away at my already fragile self-esteem. The next morning, while I was getting ready for my Vogue meeting, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. I opened it expecting a delivery courier or package. Instead, Blaine stood there looking smug. What are you doing here?" I asked, genuinely shocked. Blaine glanced past me into the apartment, clearly impressed by what he saw. "Wow. Nice upgrade, Maddox. Desmond's money is working out well for you, isn't it?" "Blaine, leave right now." "Relax." Blaine raised his hands in mock surrender. "I just came to talk, to give you a warning, actually." "A warning about what?" Blaine's expression shifted to something more serious. "Look, I understand why you married Desmond. Money, security. I don't blame you. I'd probably do the same thing in your position. But Maddox, Desmond Hale isn't as simple as he appears to be." My heartbeat accelerated. "What do you mean?" "His family, the Hales, they have an extremely dark history. Business dealings that are questionable at best. And Desmond himself has destroyed people. Ruthlessly. If you get in his way or if he decides your usefulness has expired, he might—" "Enough," I said sternly, cutting him off. "You're jealous, Blaine. That's all this is. You ended our relationship. You don't get to interfere in my life anymore. I'm trying to protect you." "I didn't ask for your protection," I said, pulling the door open wider in clear dismissal. "Please leave now." Blaine left, but his words kept circling through my mind like persistent ghosts. Was there something about Desmond I didn't know? Was all of this too perfect to actually be true? That night when Desmond called for his routine check-in, I asked hesitantly, "Desmond, have you ever hurt anyone in business? Destroyed someone's career or livelihood?" A long silence followed. Then he spoke slowly, carefully. "Yes, Maddox, I have. In business, if you show weakness, people will devour you completely. I've bankrupted competitors when necessary. I've closed deals ruthlessly. I'm not an angel, I've never claimed to be. But you've never hurt me, right?" "Never," he responded immediately, with absolute conviction. "And I never will. You're different, Maddox. You're not part of my business world. You're something else entirely." "What am I then?" "I don't fully know yet," he admitted with complete honesty. "But when I figure it out, you'll be the first person I tell." After the call disconnected, I sat in confusion. Could I actually trust Desmond completely? Or was this entire situation an elaborate game where I was merely a dispensable piece on his chessboard? The following week, my Vogue meeting exceeded all expectations. The editors were genuinely impressed with my portfolio and they assigned me a complete editorial shoot, a fashion spread for their upcoming spring issue. This opportunity felt absolutely life-changing. I was simultaneously excited and terrified. But finally, after years of struggling, it seemed like my hard work was actually paying off in tangible ways. When Desmond heard the news, he invited me to dinner to celebrate, choosing a neutral location, an upscale restaurant that wasn't the same place where we'd first encountered each other. The dinner was surprisingly pleasant, simple, comfortable conversation without any of the usual formalities or tensions. "You know," Desmond said as dessert was being served, "when I first saw you in that restaurant, my initial instinct was to keep walking. mind my own business like I always do. But something about you made me stop. What was it? I asked, genuinely curious. Your eyes, he said simply, holding my gaze. They contained fight, not surrender. You answered Blaine with dignity intact, never begging for anything. And I respect that kind of strength tremendously. I felt awkward handling compliments had never been my strong suit. Anyway, Desmond shifted the topic. We have our first official public event this weekend, a charity gala. Extremely high profile. Will you be comfortable attending? I'll manage somehow, I assured him, though nervousness churned in my stomach. I'll stay beside you the entire time, Desmond promised. You won't have to face anyone alone. The gala arrived quickly. Desmond had a designer tuxedo delivered to my apartment, custom tailored in sapphire blue that perfectly matched my eyes. When I finished getting ready and looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked elegant, confident, like I actually belonged in these exclusive circles. When Desmond arrived to pick me up, his reaction was priceless. He looked me up and down slowly, then smiled with genuine appreciation. You look absolutely stunning, he said with sincerity that made me blush. Thank you, I managed to say. At the gala, cameras flashed the moment we entered. Reporters shouted questions from behind velvet ropes. Desmond took my hand firmly, reassuringly, and we walked inside together. The interior was filled with elite society designer tuxedos, expensive gowns, jewelry that probably cost more than my entire life savings combined. Desmond introduced me to various people, business partners, prominent socialites, wealthy donors. I maintained a polite smile, made small talk, tried to appear comfortable despite feeling completely out of my depth. Everything was progressing smoothly until Blaine entered with another alpha who was clearly his latest conquest. Desmond's grip on my hand tightened subtly, indicating he'd noticed too. Just ignore him, he whispered quietly. But Blaine wasn't the type to be ignored. He approached us directly, wearing a fake smile that didn't reach his eyes. Maddox and Desmond, Blaine said in an overly sweet tone. Congratulations on your whirlwind marriage. Quite the surprise for everyone. Thank you, Desmond replied dryly, making his disinterest abundantly clear. Blaine looked at me with false admiration. Honestly, Maddox, I'm genuinely impressed. You settled down so quickly. I never thought you'd be so strategic about these things. He was essentially calling me an opportunist. I started to respond, but Desmond spoke first. Strategic? That's an interesting word choice, Blaine. Because as I recall, you used Maddox and then discarded him the moment someone you considered a better option appeared. So perhaps you're projecting your own behavior? Blaine's face flushed red. Desmond continued calmly but lethally. And you called Maddox's photography a waste of time. Yet yesterday, Vogue featured his work, an international publication. Meanwhile, your latest business venture. What was it? Oh yes, that online boutique that closed after 3 months. Blaine stood speechless. His companion looked increasingly uncomfortable. Desmond placed his hand on my waist in a clearly possessive gesture. Maddox is extraordinarily talented. You failed to recognize that. Your loss entirely. And honestly, your opinion has become completely irrelevant. He guided me away from there, leaving Blaine publicly humiliated. Outside on the balcony, breathing in fresh air, I finally felt like I could breathe properly again. Are you all right? Desmond asked with concern. Yes, I said. Thank you for defending me like that. Of course, he replied. You're my spouse. Defending you isn't just duty, it's instinct. Only duty? Desmond hesitated, his eyes searching mine deeply. No, he finally admitted. Not just duty, Maddox. You've become important to me, as a person, not simply as part of our arrangement. My heartbeat accelerated. Desmond, his phone suddenly rang. He checked the screen and his entire expression transformed, becoming serious and tense. What's wrong? I asked. My father, he said grimly. He just discovered our marriage, and he's extremely angry about it. Why would he be angry? Desmond sighed with frustration. Because he had already made plans. He decided who I would marry, specifically for business alliances and mergers. By marrying you, I completely ruined his carefully arranged strategy. And my father doesn't forgive disruptions easily. What does that mean exactly? It means he'll target you directly, Desmond said seriously. He'll try to discredit you publicly. He'll attempt to destroy your reputation so thoroughly that I'll have no choice but to divorce you. Fear shot through me. So should we divorce? Absolutely never. Desmond's voice became firm and unyielding. I won't let my father win this battle. And you, I will protect you no matter what happens. He cupped my face gently. Trust me, Maddox. Please. I looked into his eyes, seeing sincerity and determination burning there. Okay, I whispered. I trust you. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice kept warning me. Is this trust justified? Or have you just dragged your life into an even more complicated disaster? I chose to ignore that voice, because in this moment, standing with Desmond, I felt safe. And for the first time in years, I felt like I actually belonged somewhere. The next morning, the internet exploded with coordinated attacks. News articles, social media posts, gossip blogs, everywhere displayed the same manufactured story. Desmond Hale's Omega husband, gold digger exposed? Exclusive investigation reveals Maddox Reed's desperate past. Accompanying the headlines were photographs. My old studio apartment with visible water damage and peeling paint. Screenshots of my bank statements showing negative balances. Images of me shopping at thrift stores. Everything twisted, manipulated, presented in the absolute worst possible light. The comments were absolutely brutal. I knew it from the beginning. Classic gold digger strategy. Poor Omega trapped a wealthy alpha with fake affection. Absolutely disgusting. Desmond deserves so much better than this opportunist. This Maddox person is clearly just using him for money and social status. I felt completely devastated. Phone notifications arrived non-stop. Emails, messages, even hateful direct messages from strangers. I called Desmond with shaking hands. Desmond, have you seen the news coverage? Yes. His voice was tight with controlled anger. I've already contacted our lawyers. This is clear defamation. We can sue for damages. But Desmond, I interrupted. All of this, your father orchestrated this, didn't he? Silence. Then yes. Almost certainly. He's publicly humiliating you to pressure me into divorcing you. So maybe you should consider divorce? I asked hesitantly, my heart breaking even as I said the words. What? Desmond nearly shouted. Maddox, how can you even suggest? I will never abandon you. I don't care what my father does, but your reputation is being destroyed. To hell with reputation. Desmond's frustration boiled over. Maddox, listen very carefully. I don't care what strangers think. I care what you think. And if you believe I'd leave you because of some fabricated articles and anonymous trolls, then you fundamentally misunderstand who I am. I felt overwhelmed with emotion. Desmond, I just don't want you suffering because of me. Then stop pushing me away, he said more softly. We'll face this together, as partners. Understood? Understood, I whispered. That night, Desmond came to my apartment. He ordered pizza, simple, comforting food. We sat on the sofa watching mindless television, not really paying attention to the screen. You know, Desmond said suddenly, when I was young, my father constantly told me that emotions were weaknesses, that feelings had no place in business decisions. So I learned to suppress everything I felt. I listened quietly. But with you, he continued, being around you makes me actually feel things, really experience emotions, and it's terrifying. But simultaneously, it's liberating in ways I never expected. I looked at him. What exactly do you feel? Desmond met my eyes with complete vulnerability. I'm developing real feelings for you, Maddox. Genuine emotions. This stopped being just an arrangement for me. At least on my side. Time seemed to freeze. My heart raced wildly. Desmond, we're in a contract. This complicates everything. I understand that, he interrupted gently. I'm not forcing you to reciprocate anything, but I want complete honesty between us. I want you, Maddox, not as a contracted spouse, as something much more significant. I didn't know what to say with words, so instead, I took action. I leaned forward and kissed him. Initially, he seemed shocked. Then he responded, passionate, desperate, utterly real. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer. My fingers tangled in his hair. When we finally separated, both breathless, Desmond whispered, "Does this mean you feel something too?" "Yes," I admitted. "I'm falling in love with you, Desmond. I don't know exactly when it started happening, but it definitely has." He pulled me into a tight embrace. "I love you too, completely." That night we slept together, not in separate rooms maintaining professional distance, but truly together, cuddled close, feeling safe, feeling whole. But reality never stays simple for long. The next day, Desmond received an official legal notice. His father, Harrison Hale, had filed a court case, fraud marriage, claiming I had manipulated and deceived Desmond purely for financial gain. If the case succeeded, I could face criminal charges and possible jail time. Desmond could be removed from his company entirely. This can't be happening, I said, panic rising in my chest. It won't succeed, Desmond stated firmly. I have the best legal team available. We'll fight this. But Desmond, if your father wins, he won't win, Desmond said with absolute determination. Because we'll prove this isn't fraud. We'll prove this is genuine love. And he genuinely fought with everything he had. The court hearings were brutal experiences. Harrison's lawyers portrayed me as a villain, a desperate omega who seduced a wealthy alpha for money. They fabricated evidence. They bribed witnesses to lie. But Desmond never wavered. At the final hearing, the judge called Desmond to the witness stand. Mr. Hale, the judge asked, were you coerced into this marriage in any way? No, Your Honor, Desmond answered clearly. And was this marriage purely transactional in nature? Desmond looked directly at me with deep affection. Initially, yes. It began as an arrangement. But now, this is the most genuine relationship I've ever experienced. I truly love Maddox. Whispers spread through the courtroom. The judge turned to me. Mr. Reed, your statement? I stood up, nervous, scared, but absolutely determined. Your Honor, when I married Desmond, I was desperate, financially struggling. That's true, but I never took advantage of him. I built my own career through my own efforts, and I genuinely love him. He means everything to me. Complete silence followed. The judge finally announced the verdict. Case dismissed. I see no evidence of fraud whatsoever. These are two consenting adults who are legally married. Mr. Harrison Hale, your case is entirely baseless. Harrison had lost. Outside the courthouse, media chaos surrounded us. But Desmond took my hand and faced the cameras directly. Maddox is my husband, he declared loudly for everyone to hear. I love him. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can address me directly. He kissed me then publicly, proudly, passionately. And in that moment, witnessed by the world, we announced this wasn't just a contract anymore. This was love. Real messy, beautiful love. Desmond launched his own independent company, completely separate from Hale Enterprises. And I became a successful photographer with exhibitions, magazine features, and high-profile clients. We weren't as financially stable as before, but we were genuinely happy. One evening at home, in our shared penthouse that we'd designed together, Desmond said, "You realize our contract technically expired. It's been a full year." I paused. "Yes, so he smiled. "I want to officially ask you, will you stay with me? Real marriage this time? No contract, no timeline? Just us?" I kissed him deeply. "Yes, always." And holding each other close, I realized, sometimes what begins as an arrangement becomes destiny. Because love can't be measured by contracts. Love happens naturally.